We have been working on our biggest video yet. Some of you guys will already be able to guess what it is. Because I want a Reaver. I want one of those bug-faced, tree trunk-legged weirdos. And so if any of you guys out there really like the look of this Warhound Titan, why don't you reach out to us? Maybe we can do a little business. We here at EonsOfBattle are making it happen. It is a sordid tale full of loss, drama, intrigue, the US postal system, emails, a rainstorm, eventual triumph, and it all begins 10 months ago. Our trade has been accepted. This cute little puppy is finding a new home, and I am getting a Reaver Titan. But in the comments of the last video, many people noticed a few little problems and fun things with this Titan, so I have done just a little bit more work on it. The base was a little wobbly because the sculpt mold I put on warped it pretty bad, so I went in with some sandpaper, and after a few hours of sanding it down, it is now rock solid. And speaking of rock solid, many of you will remember the infamous drop where the body of this Titan fell onto a bunch of my Space Marines. Well, I have fixed that. The issue was that this hole was a little bit bigger than the original Titan peg, so I have reinforced it with a big piece of PVC pipe that is the perfect size. So now there is no chance of this sucker ever dropping ever again. And in terms of names, you guys had a pretty good idea for that too. A lot of comments said that this was McDonald's colors, so I thoroughly agree, and I am naming this sucker Mac. Big Mac. I can't wait for this Titan to get to its new home, but first I gotta disassemble it. All right, you be good, little buddy. Treat your new owner right. Kill all of their opponents forever and ever. All right, it's off to the warp with this guy. Well, it's been about 6 months, and my baby boy Big Mac, the Warhound Titan, has been lost in the warp. And lost is a very apt description. We've been emailing back and forth with the post office, and everything that could possibly have gone wrong has gone wrong. Nobody knows where the Titan is, and we just got an email officially announcing that Big Mac is gone, lost. And that hits pretty hard. I did trade the Titan for another Titan, but what softened the blow of that was that it was gonna be out there. It was gonna be out there in the world, stomping Xenos and heretics and being played with, and that made it possible for me to let go of him. But now he's just gone. He's just rotting by the side of the road or in a dumpster somewhere, and it really, really, really sucks. It was like an all hope is lost moment. It really, really hit hard and was really emotional. But this morning, while the emotions were still big and bad, it arrived back on our doorstep. Big Mac is back with us, safe and sound. I have no idea what happened. The post office didn't know it was coming back to us, but it is here, it is safe and sound, a little worse for wear, but that's easy to clean up, and the trade is still on. The buyer still wants this, so I'm gonna get it ready, back up and running, and I'm gonna do a little something special to show our appreciation for being so patient. I gotta clean up the rubble on this guy's base a little bit because it did get damaged in transport, and that's probably the only thing I can't blame solely on USPS. It is a little delicate. The sculpt mold chipped off the base in several places, and many of the scale bricks broke. I reapplied basing material to the missing spots using lots and lots of super glue to lock them into position and reprime these areas. Luckily, the base is very messy in general, so it's easy to hide these crimes. Airbrushing the original colors over top and dry brushing to blend them in like they were never even there. This base has a lot going on, and you know what else has a lot going on? Today's sponsor. Do you find yourself in need of 3D printable wargaming models and bits? Well, then Daka Store is for you. Daka Store has a Patreon that is devoted to making some of the coolest wargaming miniatures around, with monthly miniature releases and new projects every month. Their releases have a seasonal format where each season will focus on multiple armies chosen by their patrons. This season's release is the Green Porka's Horde, Doomsday Division, and Citadel Vanguard. Those who subscribe to Daka Store's Firstborn tier will receive a curated selection of infantry miniatures, modular miniatures, vehicles, model bases, and terrain for that season's 3 armies. They have a welcome pack of 28 models chosen from their different monthly releases, and as a patron every month you'll get exclusive discounts on their STLs and physical minis. They have a selection of different exclusive miniatures that patrons will receive by reaching certain milestones in their subscription. All Daka Store models have been optimized for 3D printing and are fully compatible with a wide range of printers and printing software. It's all manually pre-supported and test printed. So if you want to expand your wargaming collection and join a community of passionate wargaming enthusiasts, subscribe to Daka Store's Patreon now. Patch job is complete, and now it is time for that little something special. Now the buyer asked for a 40k quote, and I already sharpied one on the bottom of the base, but I want to add another one. And that quote I have selected is from the 6th edition 40k rulebook. Innocence proves nothing. What is more 40k than that? You are guilty. But I didn't do it. Doesn't matter. But like, I actually didn't do it. Sounds like you've got a guilty conscience. Like, it is the most 40k thing, and I think it'll look lovely on the armor of this behemoth. Freehanding is hard, but I really want to try. First, I need to give myself a blank canvas to work from. I primed over the original battle damage. This paint job has to go underneath any chips. I reapplied the yellow and cleaned it all up to factory fresh. Now to figure out what I'm actually going to make. I penciled it all in on a separate piece of paper, figuring out how big my letters are and how much room I'll need to make on the flowing 40k scroll. Now that I have my plan, I can do it for real. I painted the text box first with my light tan color, and once I was happy with the size and shape, I layered in some highlighting and shading, mixing black and white into my tan. Time to get started. I don't have that great of freehanding skills, and my handwriting is not that good, so this ought to be great. I wrote out the text box in a writing app so I could see the letters in the font I wanted, and now it's just time to replicate the picture. I worked from the ends into the middle, working with watery dark gray paint, laying in my letters, making them as big as I could, and of course, I ran out of room. I went back in with my tan paint, erasing the C, which I now know has to be a lot thinner, and on a second try, I made it work. On the second line, that shouldn't happen again, as any gap will just become the space in between the words, was my thinking. But nope, I still wrote the text way too big, and so I had to paint over almost the whole thing and start over again. I don't even know how I made this mistake, but somehow I forgot the O in nothing. So for the last time, I erased my letters and started over. This was frustrating, but overall a very rewarding experience. I know I could do a much better job next time. I cleaned up my letters using a little bit of the tan paint, and now it is time to finish the scroll. I painted the behind parts in a dark gray color and then layered up lighter and lighter gray to get a 3D effect. Now that the script is perfect, I put a little battle damage back down, letting the scratches and verdigris go over the paint job so that it's all blended in. That worked out better than I was expecting. It did take a long time. It took about 4 hours, but it is exciting knowing that I can pull off something like this if I plan it out. And it gives me a lot of ideas for future projects, and more on that in a little bit. But it's been nice having this guy back with me, but now it is time to get him where he belongs. It's finally happened, you guys. It's finally here. We finally have a proper Titan, a Reaver Titan, inside of this horribly messed up box. And why is the box messed up? Well, because the sordid tail of this Titan grows even longer. We got this box, we checked out all of the parts, it was all looking pretty darn good, and that day we had a rainstorm and this basement flooded, and this box was ruined in that flood. Luckily, the Titan is still looking Ziploc fresh, it looks perfect, so we just swapped it out from this box, which now smells a little funny, to a box we happen to have lying around. This box. Our Titan is number 3089. There's not as many of these things as I would have expected out there in the wild. This is an absurd amount of resin, and my plan for this guy is Suture Vora, the Hot Rod Flame Titan Legion. It's gonna make this big ol' Knight Lancer look like a Knight Armiger, which is the small version of a knight. It'll look really big and impressive. It is going to take a monumental amount of work to get this Titan ready, but if you guys are excited and you guys want to see it, if you can get this video to 10,000 likes, we might bump some stuff and make sure that this Titan happens sooner rather than later. Big thanks to Daka Store for sponsoring this video. I have a lot of work ahead of me.